The Amazon stores over 150 billion metric tons of carbon, more than 3 times the amount produced by humans in 2022. It absorbs the carbon dioxide released by fossil fuel burning, making it a battleground for climate change. However, around 17% of the Amazon has already been destroyed, and experts estimate that if it goes over 25%, it could reach a tipping point, where the green tropical rainforest transforms into a barren, inhospitable desert. So the question remains, will current efforts be enough to save the Amazon rainforest, or is it already too late? From keeping an ever-growing soy industry under control and a $1.2 billion protection fund to a search engine that plants millions of trees, I'm your host Regis, and let's explore why the Amazon rainforest is in crisis and what's being done to solve it. The tipping point. Although the Amazon rainforest spreads into 9 different countries, around 60% of it lies within Brazilian borders. This makes Brazil the most important government in protecting the Amazon. Between 1950 and 1970, government policies to clear land made rainforest destruction more systemic. The main reason for this was for cattle ranching. Tax exemptions for agricultural income encouraged investment into land, and land claimants were granted larger plots if they proved productive use, encouraging deforestation for cheap farming. These and other policies all made deforestation an attractive business practice in Brazil. And so roads were built through the Amazon to connect with the rest of the national economy. In 1972, the construction of the 4,000-kilometer-long Trans-Amazonian Highway accelerated regional development to a level never seen before. This was in line with global deforestation, which peaked during the 1980s. Around 1.5 million square kilometers of forests were lost in that decade alone. That's almost 3 times the size of the entire country of France. From the 1990s, the rate of deforestation in the Amazon rainforest declined, but a new problem emerged when soybeans arrived in the area. Before then, soybeans weren't well adapted to the Amazon climate and didn't grow there naturally. But over time, the soybeans were adapted to the hot climate of the Amazon, and deforestation just exploded. By 2004, 28,000 square kilometers were being cut down, the size of Belgium, every single year. This crisis was addressed with the Soy Moratorium, signed by major companies that promised to decrease deforestation caused by the soy industry, and this had a huge effect. In 2012, the amount of forest being cleared each year was brought down by more than 85%. Unfortunately, this trend reversed a few years later, as environmental protection policies were weakened once again. Most of these protections were completely removed when Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro came to power in 2019. Bolsonaro slashed science and agency funding and removed protections for indigenous land. In less than 6 months, land the size of New York City was cleared from the Amazon. These decades of rapid deforestation are adding up, and we're now fast approaching a point of no return. Around 17% of the Amazon has now been destroyed. If this number reaches 25%, scientists believe a tipping point could be reached. That would mean that the wet, biodiverse rainforest transforms into a completely different environment. Dry, hot, and with vegetation more similar to that of a savanna. So let's get to the good news now. What's actually being done about it? We start off with the election of a new president. In Brazil, the people endorsed a platform of environmental protection with the election of Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, better known just as Lula. Lula made deforestation a top priority, promising to achieve zero deforestation by 2030 by expanding protected zones. In the first 6 months of Lula's presidency, deforestation fell by 34%, which is a pretty good trend. Lula has reactivated the Amazon Cooperation Treaty Organization to bring the resources of 8 different Latin American states together. One of his challenges is to rein in some of these members. Both Bolivia and Venezuela are yet to sign a commitment to net zero deforestation by 2030. In a summit held in 2023, Lula called on Brazil's neighbors to work together to protect the Amazon. He also promised to establish a headquarters in Manaus, the capital of the Amazonas state, to police environmental crimes. However, everything isn't quite as good as it seems here. Soon after Ecuador put a stop to oil drilling in the Amazon, Lula's administration announced that it would be investing a massive $69 billion into the oil and gas sector. It's not a good look for a president who's made environmentalism a centerpiece of his platform. However, another positive change in the Amazon is the recognition of more indigenous reserves. President Lula has recognized several indigenous reserves and handed back control to traditional land custodians. This doesn't sound like a big deal in saving the Amazon rainforest at first, but these small steps can make a big difference over time. This is because the best preserved parts of the Amazon are actually inhabited by indigenous people. These groups have developed sustainable living practices over centuries of living in the area. A report even found out that indigenous people protect around 22% of the land classified as key biodiversity areas worldwide. Therefore, many people argue that the best way to slow down deforestation is just to hand the land back to these groups in the first place. Another positive change could come from the European Union. This is because the EU has put restrictions on companies whose products are contributing to deforestation. These regulations will come into effect in December of this year and cover cocoa, palm oil, cattle, soya, and other related products. This will be monitored by satellite technology and even analyzing DNA to determine the source area of different products. Optical, radar, and thermal sensors are all used to compare areas of rainforest over a period of time, detecting patterns and identifying if the changes are natural or man-made. The Brazilian government has already implemented this technology into their system known as DETER, which is short for Real-Time Deforestation Detection. It creates daily alerts, which have helped authorities crack down on unlawful deforestation. While most of the initiatives are coming from governments, there's some action in the private sector as well. The only question is, do these companies really want change? In 2010, the Consumer Goods Forum committed to a net zero deforestation by 2020. The group brings together over 400 companies, including giants like Coca-Cola, Walmart, and Kellogg's. Just like the European Union, they plan to be helped by satellite imagery to identify how land is being used and whether or not deforestation is occurring. However, despite these pledges, studies have found that these commitments often aren't fully implemented. Most of the companies still haven't made any meaningful change. Some of these difficulties relate to the sheer size of multinational companies and determining which suppliers are connected to their supply chain. In many cases, these companies are just left to police themselves. The value for brands is in the messaging. Customers pay a premium to receive products that are certified zero deforestation. But without proper regulation, companies have been accused of greenwashing. They use environmental selling points to make products more appealing, and data suggests that it's working. The largest supermarket chain in Colombia had a 173% surge in sales for sustainable farming products. But there's more that's being done. By far, the biggest concentration of financial support to protect the Amazon is in the Amazon Fund. This fund aims to provide money for management, monitoring, protection, and all conservation efforts across the board. Starting in 2008, it has amassed pledges of over $1.2 billion, coming from Germany, Norway, Switzerland, the United States, the United Kingdom, and of course, Brazil. Around $610 million is currently ready to be allocated to investment, and Brazilian officials are currently reviewing new sustainability projects. Picking projects has at times been controversial though, with Western companies opposing Brazil's plans to use the fund for building a 900-kilometer road inside of the rainforest. Two major donors believe that this is the kind of infrastructure spending that's not in line with the aims of the Amazon Fund. Other projects that are being supported are often local initiatives, like assistance for indigenous populations or helping to create a more local economy with things like the acai fruit, Brazil nuts, and handcrafted products. This can help the Amazon as these local economies are not connected to the global supply chains that are mostly responsible for this deforestation. The Amazon Fund is helping to slowly scale up these projects. However, as acai has become a quote-unquote superfood and exports from Brazil have exploded, a harmful byproduct is created, acai pulp. It adds up to more than 500,000 tons a year, which can end up clogging rivers and waterways. A number of initiatives to recycle the byproduct into plastics, fertilizer, and construction materials are underway, but if even local products are causing environmental damage, how bad are the other industries? That's why a number of non-profit organizations are pushing to make big changes in the food industry. One of the biggest products connected to deforestation is meat. Forests are cleared to graze livestock or to grow food to feed the livestock. Between 2001 and 2015, almost 500,000 square kilometers of forest was cleared just for beef alone. That's roughly the size of France. That's why the group Mighty Earth is campaigning to have meat depending on rainforest land taken off shelves and replaced by sustainable alternatives. Advocacy like this is turning into real-world policy, with the World Wildlife Fund establishing an FSC label, which stands for Forest Stewardship Council. The certification informs consumers that a product has been verified as coming from responsibly managed forests. Some governments appear to have joined the fight as well. France has claimed that it'll be banning all deforestation imports by 2030. That makes France the first European country to commit to the target. However, this could be easier said than done. For now, the steps are still pretty vague. They involve sharing knowledge, leveraging international cooperation, and boosting demand for sustainable products. To be honest, it feels like the same kind of unfulfilled promise that all those companies made over a decade ago now. But we have one more interesting project that's trying to make a change in the Amazon rainforest. Ecosia is a search engine that puts all its profits toward environmental causes. 80% of that goes directly towards tree planting. To date, the company has planted over 200 million trees, including 13 million in Brazil. The company has also introduced a climate pledge ranking, ranging from A to F. It allows users to see how businesses stack up for their sustainability and contributions to eco-friendly practices. Tree planting has been described as the cheapest climate change solution currently available. What is clear is that saving the Amazon rainforest is going to need to be a global effort. If efforts to protect the Amazon aren't successful, it'll be an environmental, economic, and humanitarian catastrophe, one that we might never recover from. But what do you think about the Amazon rainforest? Is enough being done to protect it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you want to see more about similar projects, make sure to watch our video about saving our oceans. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.